The last hit, it was the smell that got me first. I had just come home from work, the usual Monday grind dragging me down, but what I wasn't expecting was the thick, pungent odor wafting from under the door to my son's room. It hit me like a slap to the face, sharp and unmistakable. I froze. That wasn't the usual scent of teenage rebellion, the Axe body spray, the stale pizza boxes, the faint whiff of, well, you know. No, this was something far more telling. The kind of smell that leaves a knot in your stomach. I stood outside his door, my hand resting on the doorknob, unsure if I should knock, if I should walk in. And then, before I could decide, the door swung open on its own. "Hey, Dad," Jason said, standing there, his eyes a little too wide, his posture stiff, like he had been waiting for me. I stared at him, trying to keep my voice steady. "You've been smoking, weed?" The question felt heavy in the air, like a stone sinking to the bottom of a still lake. The words barely left my mouth before I saw the shift in his face, the fear, the guilt, the sudden realization that the game was up. I can explain," he stammered. I didn't let him finish. My mind raced, but I had to focus. I needed to handle this, needed to figure out what to do. But, more than anything, I couldn't shake the sinking feeling in my gut, like something had just shifted in the world. My kid, my 16-year-old, was using something that could mess him up in ways I couldn't predict. I swallowed hard. "We need to talk." We sat down in the living room, and I tried to keep my voice level. I didn't want to yell. I didn't want to make him defensive. He was already on edge, and the last thing I needed was for him to shut down. "Jason," I said slowly, trying to sound more calm than I felt. "I'm not mad, okay? But I need to understand. What are you doing? Why this?" He avoided my eyes, twisting his fingers together. "It's not like that, Dad. Everyone does it. It's not a big deal." A big deal? Not a big deal. That's when it all started feeling wrong. His deflection, the way he looked at me like I was the out-of-touch parent who just didn't get it. I wanted to ask him about the dangers of it, the way it messes with the brain, how it can destroy ambition. But instead, all I could do was watch his face, how pale he'd gotten, how his pupils were dilated, how he was sweating even though the house was cool. "Jason," I said quietly, "this isn't just about smoking pot. It's about trust. It's about you thinking you can hide things from me. You're 16. This is the time when you need to be making smart choices. If you keep doing this, who knows where you'll end up." There was a long pause. His lips twitched like he wanted to say something, but the words wouldn't come. And then, out of nowhere, he asked something that made my blood run cold. "Dad, when was the last time you smoked?" I froze. The question hit me like a brick. What was he really asking? Was he trying to turn the conversation back onto me? Trying to make me feel like I wasn't in a position to lecture him? Or was he testing me, seeing if I'd crack? The truth was, I hadn't touched anything like that in years. Not since my 20s, before I had him, before I'd settled into this life. But the way he asked the question, the look in his eyes, it felt like he knew something I didn't. I found myself hesitating. "A long time ago," I said, my voice sounding weaker than I'd intended. "But that's not the point. The point is you're my son, and I need to keep you safe." Jason was quiet for a long time, then slowly, he stood up. "I get it, Dad. I'll be more careful," he said, and I almost believed him. Almost. He turned to leave, but before he walked away, he paused at the doorway, glancing back at me. His expression was unreadable, but there was something off about it. Something distant. "I'm not stupid, Dad," he said, and I could see it in his eyes now. The distance, the coldness. I know what I'm doing. And I know when I'm being watched. The door clicked shut behind him, and I was left standing in the silence. And that was when I realized something even worse. I had been watching him. Too much. Too closely. But Jason? He was watching me too. The following days felt like a blur. I tried to keep things normal, but the tension between us had shifted, become something new and strange. I couldn't shake the feeling that he was always one step ahead, that he had a plan, and I was just a pawn in it. It wasn't until a few weeks later that I found the real horror. I was cleaning out the garage when I stumbled across an old box of things, my old college stuff, random mementos. At the bottom of the box, wrapped in a plastic bag, was something that sent a chill down my spine. A joint. And it wasn't one I'd kept from my past. It was freshly rolled, its edges still crisp. I didn't smoke anymore, but I knew that wasn't mine. I sat there, holding it, a cold sweat breaking out across my skin. How had it gotten there? And more importantly, who else had been watching me? The last hit, it wasn't just about my son anymore. It was about a game I didn't even realize I was playing.